It is.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Captive Audience with your hosts, Don Anderson and Sunny Danforth. Say hello, Sunny.
Hello, Don.
Hey, it's wonderful
It's
Wednesday.
great to be here on Wonderful Wednesday.
It's always great to be here. And I don't know how things are looking out there, but it's all of a sudden heating up here. We're supposed to get close to 100 degrees tomorrow. And this afternoon, it went from like cloudy and almost damp to like 85 really quick. So there you have it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's last I looked at the thermometer, it was 90 degrees and it's supposed to be 100 this weekend. So, yes, it's heating up. And thankfully, we're getting some fires under control because of those cooler temperatures and the rain. We had a little
Oh
rain.
yeah, well, this isn't the only place it's heating up because it's heating up over in the Olympic Village in Paris as well. And I'm not sure how many of you all have heard about that. I'm just going to stick a quick as I show you my technological skills here. I'm pulling up a link to an article that I think you all will find really interesting, and that's I'm sure everyone's heard about the political correctness associated with the Olympics. We've all been subjected to the Last Supper, which was just one of the most horrible displays. I think the most horrible display I've ever seen. All people want to do with the Olympics, this is an opportunity. It was set up to bring nations together. It's all about togetherness and competition. And it turned even that into a political not just to a political spectacle, but an opportunity to insult what 2 or 3 billion people on the planet who call themselves Christians. It's astonishing. But it doesn't just stop there, and that's why I think this article is interesting because the political correctness has infected the way that the Olympic Village itself is being run. So the athletes are being forced. Now imagine you've been training for your whole life for this opportunity to come and compete in front of the entire world. That means you've monitored your sleep a certain way. You've measured your food in a lot of cases down to the gram. You have to have a temperature controlled environment so that you're rested and you're at peak performance. So what happens after all of this training into the Olympic Village in Paris? Well, they have to sleep in a politically correct bed that's made out of cardboard, so that's recyclable materials. So you can
Oh,
imagine how
my
that's
word.
going. They actually did this. It's so bad that a lot of athletes have had to call home and have beds shipped into them. I mean, that's how bad it is. They're in rooms that don't have air conditioning, and Paris is very hot in the summer, and this is no exception. It's exceptionally hot. So now think about those people who are in events that are like long distance type events. You got to rehydrate, get your body ready, and not sleeping in rooms that are 85 degrees. So people are having to have air conditioning units shipped into their rooms. Then there's a problem with the food. They're giving them food that's vegetarian style food, which, yes, might work for the run of the mill person, but if you're training to be a high performance athlete, think if you are a Olympic weightlifter, for example, that's just not going to cut it. So people are having to have their own chefs, teams bringing their own food in. It's just a disaster. And then I heard the last thing was even the water's warm. They can't even get cold water. I was just reading there's a tennis player who they're giving him water during the match. It's 90 degrees outside, and he's getting like hot water. It's like just
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Now this is the type of thing I would have thought like the US Olympic Committee would have had something prearranged for all of the athletes representing the America. And the same for the other countries, right? That you're knowing what the athletes are coming into, because how do you expect somebody who is operating at peak performance, and like you said, monitoring their diet, monitoring every aspect of them, so that they're a machine. These athletes are very much have. I won't say a machine. That's not a good analogy, but they're highly tuned, highly
Yeah.
tuned, and
Well, it's close
and
enough.
to have that is awful.
When you're performing at the upper end of 1% performance, you are looking for every little edge you can get. Every little thing has to be right. And for them to do this to them, all in the name of political correctness and wokeness, if they'll just, long story short, if they'll do that to them, what do you think they'll do to you?
Well, I'm wondering if they're putting bugs in their food, but I did see, you know,
I would not be
a
surprised.
vegetarian, I'm guessing. I don't know. I did see a headline today, but I don't have the story that an athlete was disqualified, and the athlete said it has to be the food.
Mhm.
So
Well,
I don't know.
who knows? Who knows? I would imagine that. Think about folks who are from countries that can't afford to have their parents ship them a new bed or send them air conditioning. I mean, there's lots of athletes who come from places like that, and now they're at a major competitive disadvantage, which again shows you that once again, wokeness, they could care less about the result. They could care less about poor people. All they care about is their agenda, and this is just absolutely
Yeah.
horrible. And this article doesn't even mention there's also a problem with transgender athletes in combat sports at the Olympics. So they've got
Oh yeah, I
males in
watched the
boxing.
boxing thing.
Uh, yeah, he's not even trying to fake being a woman. That guy, that man is a man. He's showing
100%.
up as a man, right?
And actually, that man was disqualified at some national titles to be able to fight against a woman, saying, nope, you just don't meet it. And yet, here at the Olympics, they allowed it. And that was just awful. Also with the Olympics, some people might have seen the opening ceremony. I did not, and I just posted this. Judicial Watch has filed an FCC complaint against NBC for airing obscene and indecent content from the Olympics opening ceremony. There is I'm sure a lot of you've seen it, others have seen it, I've seen it, that this guy's balls are hanging out of his shorts.
Yeah, I saw that in a separate news article. I heard about it and I didn't watch it. I'm out. It's boycott city for me. But
Well,
I
that's
saw
the
that.
where it is for me, and
Yeah.
what a shame, because I want to watch my country's athletes.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, I'm with you. I love watching, especially track and field, gymnastics, stuff that you just don't get an opportunity to watch any other time of year,
Yeah,
and they've just ruined it.
yeah, they have.
And it,
They
you have to
have,
think,
and this is about an agenda, and it's not about the athletes that normally brings nations together. And to see, I've seen several articles today. I will tell you, I don't know if they're true, so like I never reposted any of them,
mhm,
but through X, formerly Twitter, I would see different companies that are pulling out. Home Depot was one I can remember. Another company pulled $1 billion worth of advertising out or support out of the Olympics.
that's correct.
And so they're going, no, after what you did on the opening,
Mhm.
and you think as an advertiser you could trust them what they're going to come up with, but
Sure.
this was awful. This
Yeah,
was
apparently not.
egregious.
And the thing about it, and this goes to the next level, this attack is literally is attack on Western civilization. What could
Yeah,
be more fundamental? There's no way to get around it. You couldn't pick any other symbol to attack other than the Lord's Supper. I mean, that is a direct attack. And the interesting thing about it is
it
they did
is.
this in France. Now think about the French Revolution. What happened in the French Revolution? The first thing they did was they attacked Christendom and they started murdering priests, nuns, and anybody else who disagreed with the radical left agenda. And so it's just amazing to me that this is happening in all countries. That country. So
Yeah.
pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable.
And, Bobby asked a very good question. Was the Olympic Committee blind or lied to?
And I'd be
Mhm.
purely speculating to guess on that, but my educated guess is they just turned a blind eye because they don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah. And
I
but
mean,
I'll tell you what, and we just have to frankly just keep pushing back on this and say,
mhm,
no, this is not acceptable, because this is not acceptable. I feel sorry for the athletes, and they're doing their best. The US is doing well. I've seen a few things on social media. I've not watched any of it, and
mhm,
I watch it. I like watching the
mhm,
Olympics and
mhm.
rooting for the teams and the athletes themselves, and but they have to shake off that beginning
Mhm.
and that stigma of what was done at the beginning of their games. How awful.
It's appalling,
How
and the only way you're going to win this battle is, hey, look, this is not really a big ask. to not watch sports and support things that are detrimental to civilization itself. I mean, we're not being asked to get beheaded. In lots of countries, that's happening. We're not
Mhm.
asked to be thrown off buildings. In lots of countries, that's happening. We're not being burned alive. None of those things are happening. All we're being called to do for now is to turn the channel, to not go to Disney, to not go to an NBA game, or to not
Yep.
watch them on TV, to not support events where they're kneeling on the flag or burning the flag. Our ask right now is really low compared to those
Netflix.
before
Cancel
us.
your Netflix account.
Cancel Netflix, right? Yeah, if don't go to Target. You have options.
Yes,
Don't buy Budweiser. And those things have worked really well. And
they have.
if we continue, because that's the only thing that these people hear at the far left is their pocketbook. If you're going to have an impact, this is the way to do it. And our ask is not that great. But if we continue to not respond to that ask, pretty soon we are going to be facing firing squads and home invasions and
Yeah.
executions. We'll be facing what they faced in Paris in the 1780s. Um, so there's, I think, the historical footnote to all of this. That was a shot. What they did was a shot across the bow. Make no mistake,
No kidding.
they're coming for you. That's what they're coming for.
Yes, yes, they have. It's another shot today is what is happening over. We're going to do a little international news, I guess, right? Starting
Absolutely.
with that. And Israel has delivered two major blows against Hamas and Hezbollah today, and in 24 hours. So I'm posting a story from PJ Media here, and it's a big deal what they're doing, and it's a retaliatory hit. I would say because of Hezbollah hitting a playground, and 11 children dying. And so, but things are heating up, dangerously heating up.
Mhm. Yeah. And you think about when Trump was in office, we didn't have any of this stuff going on because Trump knew the language that these people speak. And the language they speak is the language of power. They know if they do X, they're going to get Y response. With Biden, we show nothing but weakness. And so this is what we get.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first one was in Beirut, an Israeli airstrike killing Hezbollah's most senior military commander. And then just a short time later, there was an assassination in Tehran with a precision strike. And I don't know that I'll call it an assassination, but you know what? Taking out um, the Hamas leader in Tehran with a precision strike on the residence where he was staying.
Mhm.
And that was two direct hits pointed in there. And Israel, I saw a headline tonight as I was before coming in here, that Israel says it's kind of like fiddle around and find out, because we will hit you hard.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're in a no-win situation. I mean, we have a couple thousand miles of ocean between us and our worst enemies. They have what, about a 15-minute warning, surrounded by what, six countries, all of whom are out, all of them have declared they don't want you in existence.
Yeah.
They really have no choice, and they're constantly being attacked. And then
Yeah.
the enemy hides behind women and children, and then uses your Western values against you. So they've shown amazing restraint, as far as I can tell.
Well,
I can tell.
I think so. I mean, it's, this all started October 7th.
Right.
This all started, this recent skirmish has started October 7th, unprovoked,
Mhm.
and killing concert goers
Mhm.
and gunning down people, kidnapping people that had been there, and including American citizens. And it's just escalated since. And yet some of the world is going, oh, but Israel, you got to back down and don't, you can't wipe out all of Hamas.
Mhm.
You need to stay out of their area and not go after them. And frankly, nobody was saying that after the Twin Towers were hit.
Oh yeah, yeah. No country in the world would tolerate that and do nothing.
No,
Um,
no.
that's just they are literally in a no-win situation with regards to the press. So it it is what it is, right?
Yeah. And another area that's heating up is Venezuela. They
Mhm.
had a an election, and so I just posted a story there. And in Venezuela, the Venezuelans are rising up after Maduro says, "Yep, I won." After Maduro had actually ordered the military to go in and start taking the boxes of ballots so they
Yeah,
could not get counted. And he did that in like 30 areas from what
yeah.
little I read. I read a little bit.
Oh yeah,
And they're saying what was posted was actually the opposite, that Maduro did not win, and the statues are being Hugo Chavez. It's like three
Mhm,
of their statues have been taken down, and
mhm.
the people are rising up, and they're saying, "No, we're not doing this anymore."
Oh, the
And
Venezuelan
in fact, there was
situation.
a guy, I saw a recording on X of a fellow saying, "It's better to go to war now than
Mhm.
live under this dictatorship, this
Yeah,
illegitimate regime."
yeah.
And
Um,
so
Yeah, I
it's,
printed out a couple of lines from about that particular situation, and what this is so funny because this will sound very familiar. There's a digital tally received by the country's election authority, which is led by an ally of Mr. Maduro, and a paper count printed by each voting machine at polling places. So essentially, what they've been doing is trying to move everything away from paper and towards digital, because guess what? That's much more easy to manipulate. Hmm, doesn't that sound familiar?
yes. And police are supposedly shedding their uniforms and joining the crowds,
Mhm.
refusing to continue upholding this crooked law. And there's also a video that could be from a Venezuelan army captain and saying that the military should intervene on what sounds like the side of the protesters. And I know that the other side has said, so apparently the defense minister has stood with the side of Maduro, calling the protests a coup. And yet, I don't know, but my gut tells me that Maduro did not win this election. The
Oh yeah.
people are tired of this.
Well,
And
yeah.
I do believe, personally, I believe that he did not win, but he doesn't want to let go. And had Trump still been president, remember when there was so much pressure for Maduro to step down.
Hmm. Well,
And
think of it this way: when the population has lost like 25 or 30% of their body weight because they can't get food, is it plausible that the party in power would get 50% of the vote? Of course not.
no,
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. They're not talking about inflation there. We're talking hyperinflation.
yes,
People literally are not getting to eat in that country, right? So
no.
there is
You
no
have to
way.
have a wheelbarrow to haul your money around because it's so
Right.
worthless.
Yeah, yeah. There's no way that guy is getting enough votes. So clearly the people have had enough, and it's only a matter of time before it reaches the tipping point when the military finally says, "There's just they're the people in the military are have families. Are you just like here? Are you going to attack your
Yes.
own family?"
Yeah.
No, I don't know what their situation is there in terms of people's right to bear arms in that country. I think we might be the only country in the world that has that. Having said that, though, are the enlisted people going to fire in their own families? I don't. I don't. At some point, the answer to that is no, and they're rapidly approaching that point. Is what it looks like to me, and that's not. I'm not very educated specifically on that situation, but I've seen enough about what happens in other countries who go through that same process, and it looks like they're headed towards that. And remember,
Yes.
one of the richest countries in the world, what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
Yes.
Top 10 in terms of oil reserves. There's no reason in the world for them to be in this situation except leftists got in power. That's the only difference. And the end result's always the same. Always the same.
I was there in 96 and 97, and that was before it was communist, but the economy was so in such bad shape, which is what allowed communism to come in.
Hmm.
The people said, "Oh, we got to have change, vote for hope and change." That's how we got Obama. And so
Yeah.
that's what they did there. And probably fake elections. I don't know about that part.
Mhm.
And it was pretty bad. But I'll tell you, I remember talking to Charlie, and there was where we were in Puerto La Cruz. They have built this beautiful, with canals and these what condos, okay, that
Hmm.
was just a beautiful, beautiful area. And I said, gosh, we should get one of those. I mean, I enjoyed Venezuela and being there. I like the Latin countries a lot.
Hmm.
I choose to live in America, the best nation in the world.
Hmm.
But yeah, and said no, 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 no. And it was just a couple years later, that Hugo
Hmm.
Chavez was in power, and it all went to shit. And the
Yeah.
nation is rich, but the people that are elected there
Hmm.
or steal the elections there, those that are in power are not there truly helping the people because they are so oil rich. It's a resource rich nation, not just with oil.
Oh
And
yeah.
but they're not doing it to better their nation and lift the people up, which would
Yeah.
make them all the more richer.
Yeah.
They're
They
they're
never
there to,
will.
I'm just going to get mine, take mine, and hurt the little guy.
Anytime they start nationalizing industries, you know you're in deep trouble. And they use the
Yes.
language of, I'm here to help everyone to get power. The true objective is to get power, and they'll do and say anything they can to get that power. And that's what's precisely what's happened to that country. But I just wanted to pivot for a quick minute because I really wanted to make sure that we got around to this a little bit on more immigration fun, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I just
Yes.
posted this article about New York City, and this is really interesting. The number they've been. I saw this article, and it was New York Times. Which no, this one was not New York Times. It was another one, New York Times. But basically, it's discussing how rape increases in New York City have like gone through the roof. Let's see, 880 reported rapes in 2024, and 796 in 2023. So they're up by a lot. But what's interesting about it is rape is one of those crimes where the vast majority of the time, the person doing the raping is somebody who knew the person. The majority of these rapes that are happening now are people who they're unknown assailants, which points to logic would follow the amount of people coming across the border doing these rapes. So it's yet just another one of these indications around why that border needs to be tightened up. And I just thought that was absolutely fascinating. Um, and it
Yes.
dovetails with another article I saw over in, I think it was like the Netherlands or one of those countries that are having these massive problems, and the same trend is happening there. And interestingly enough, because and this gets to the cultural reasons why you want to control your immigration, because you get people who come from cultures that are outside of the Western norm, if you will, and they don't view women the same. So if you come from a culture where women are covered, not allowed to go outside, not allowed to speak, and suddenly you're in a culture where women are dressing, let's face it, especially this last generation, they're
Mhm.
scantily clad, they're very
Oh, yeah.
loose, they're encouraged to be that way due to this feminist culture. And
Yeah.
what do you think? You think it's the candy store. So you got
Right.
two things going at the same time. I'm not saying it's right that they're doing that, but this is obvious to anyone looking at it. You got two things that have happened at the same time. You got people coming from a culture where women are devalued and viewed as objects anyway, and then you got women treating them, behaving in such a fashion that they're treating themselves as objects. That's a toxic environment, and I think you're going to continue to see an escalation of this stuff because of that. Let me just stop. And your thoughts, Sonny, on that?
Well, yeah, I agree, because we're having so many cultures that are coming in here that the people that are coming across have no desire to assimilate into the American culture at all. And they're bringing their ideals from wherever they're from, and it's quite different, the how men are treated, how women are treated and looked upon and whatnot.
Mhm.
I can remember the first time was actually around Venezuela and Cuba. I remember going, wow, I've never seen so much spandex in all my life. I had
Mhm.
never been, now it's like, and even now in our own country, I go, wow,
Mhm.
you know, people are treating athletic wear like
Mhm.
normal everyday dress.
Right.
And
Yeah. We,
quite
some-
frankly, yes, it's comfortable, but you're wearing your athletic wear out. And I don't know. I'm,
Sure. Well, these are things that your mom and dad used to tell you 40 or 50 years ago, for
yeah,
example.
that's
If you
true.
dress a certain way, I'm not saying that you deserve to be attacked. If you
Right.
dress a certain way, there's a certain percent of the population that's not going to treat you the way that you want to be treated. Now,
That's true.
again, to our generation, this seems like common sense, but this younger generation is not being taught that. And then you layer that on with people coming from a culture that already is way removed from that, and they see TV, they see Hollywood, and they think that's how American women are because look what Hollywood presents. Then they get here and they see women dressed this way. Um,
Yeah.
it's a toxic mix, is what I'm saying. It's an opportunity
It
for,
is.
yeah.
It is definitely,
And
definitely it's a toxic mix. So,
can I throw one more article? I thought this was
of
interesting too.
course, of
Yeah, so
course,
this one has to do
absolutely.
with. So I thought to find this. I looked up this article, and it's this was a Catholic vote, and it was talking about in Missouri, and this is again more of this border stuff. So Missouri had just won the law. Missouri, state of Missouri, took the Biden administration to court and won the lawsuit to force them to finish building the wall. And this has been going on since the Trump administration was in, and Biden
That's
stopped.
a huge win.
Absolutely. It's absolutely for obvious reasons, right?
Yes, it is. It's a huge win. And, you know, so to have to, now we've got to keep building the wall. And I love it, you know, that's happened because you know, Biden just reversed all of that. Thank God for Texas. Thank God for Governor Abbott, you know, who's excuse me, who's been building the wall, the only state in the nation that is building a border wall.
Yeah.
And then they got a win. I saw today that a judge said that their floating barriers that they put in the river are
Mhm.
legal. They can stay in those floating barriers can stay there in the river. So that's all good news for America on so many fronts.
And it makes you laugh because you think about one of the other brilliant things that some of the border states did was they started those cities that call themselves sanctuary cities. Well, if you want to be a sanctuary city, then we'll send them north to your sanctuary city. So see places like Chicago and New York. Now they're crying loud because they have all these immigrants. Well, they don't have even a fraction of the immigrants that are poured into Arizona and Texas, and they're crying like banshees, right? So now you get
Yeah.
to feel the effect. And one thing about liberals, you can always rest assured of this: they always are. They're always in favor of policies that they never have to feel the impact of. They never have to feel the results of their own policies. And college professors are notorious for this as a class. So the great thing about this is you can talk logic till the cows come home, but until they have their children schools being destroyed, their neighborhoods being destroyed, their civic services being destroyed, their inability to have jobs being destroyed, until they
Mhm.
have illegal immigrants put up in nice hotels while veterans in their neighborhoods are sleeping in the streets. Until that happens, they're not going to hear. And now they're hearing. It's unfortunate that it came to that, but that's what it's taken. And now we're finally starting to hear noise from those cities, like in Chicago. They're talking about doing massive protests in
Yeah.
front of the Democratic convention. But none of that would have happened had these southern states not done that, in my estimation.
Absolutely right. I mean, look at when it went into Martha's Vineyard. You want them? Here you go. And they went, oh, no, 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 no. We don't have any
Oh,
facilities here for them.
they
We've
were
got
out
to
of here.
ship them out. They were
They got
out of
them out of there
there in like 24 hours. It was
before you could say
hilarious to
Bob's
watch.
your uncle.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So, so Pat says, I heard people are being paid to vote for Harris. I don't know about that, but Harris has a rally and she has to bring in a rapper to get the people there. And then when Harris starts speaking, then it is within 10 minutes, people are leaving. Within 10 minutes. You know
I
what? That
saw that.
doesn't happen at a Trump rally. And in fact, he's maybe he's finished his rally now. It was going on earlier. And, that does not happen at a Trump rally at all. And part of the reason is Kamalanomics.
Mhm.
And I'm going to post this link. I have to say that I have to give credit to Kevin for putting this link in our Slack. And I went, oh yeah, this is very, very good. So Kamalanomics, if people say elections don't matter, yes, they do. And we're seeing why elections matter. So Kamalanomics is Kamala wants to impose a national wealth tax. In that link I posted is her in her own words, and the dates of when she is saying these things. Footage of Kamala Harris vowing to ban fracking. She wants to tax your retirement and 529 plans. She's would ban the right to work and destroy independent contractors nationwide. She wants to impose a carbon tax. And she admits she will take away your private health insurance. Now, these are not old things. This is recently done. She's prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. And she wants to hike the corporate income tax, and that will raise your utility bills. And she wants to tax it higher than Venezuela. So that link just gives you a lot of ammunition to our audience, a lot of information, but also I say ammunition because, we have to spread the message to those that don't know.
You evil right wingers are always running around talking about ammunition.
Oh, me. Oh, right.
Next thing you know, you'll be wanting to shoot the candidate. I can't envision anybody wanting to shoot a candidate. That would never happen.
Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, no, you know what? As much as I don't care for somebody, I don't wish any of them get shot at all. But I don't want our elections getting stolen. I want free and fair elections, and let the best person win, the one with the most votes.
Well, the media, has gone on the attack early to prevent the conservatives to even be able to make a case. For example, now they're running around and saying you can't call her a DEI hire, when in fact, the guy who hired her said she was a DEI hire. And anybody looking at her track record would say, yeah, what other basis would you have for hiring her?
Yes.
It's unbelievable that she's even in that position in the first place. And I think one of the things that those running against her ought to do is ignore those reporters who are trying to hamstring you before you even make a case. They're saying the same thing with the border. They're trying to hamstring us by telling us that she's not the border czar, and that's not true. When there's been article after article written before Biden stepped down or was forced out, where she was designated the border czar. So it's straight out of Orwell. You're supposed to memory hold whatever you've heard before.
It is.
It's incredible.
It is incredible watching the parrot media, one after the other, saying that was never the border czar, but she says it in her own words, and Biden says it in his own words. And yes, she was. But they remember, they are the ones that if we tell a lie often enough, people will believe it. And that's what they're trying to do. And memory hold, you're absolutely right. So I just posted a link to another, it's a post by Political Polls, formerly Twitter. And it is a new general election poll in Oregon. And it's by Hoffman Research. And there was, looks like maybe, I don't know how many people, maybe, 700 people that were polled on this. Mm-hmm. And what is interesting is in 2020, the result of Biden was plus 16. Okay. So the Democrats were up plus 16 points over the Republicans in 2020.
Mhm.
This poll shows Harris is only 5 points over Trump in Oregon right now.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I've seen several national polls, and
Mhm.
Oregon's gone from deep blue to very light blue, like within striking distance. Like, can you
Yes.
imagine 5%?
Yes, 5%. And so, things are, and it's because the tide is turning. And this is why this election is so important that we get everybody um, out voting. And I don't care what their political persuasion is, they need to turn a ballot in. And of course, we want them to vote down the Republican ticket. Okay. On the Republican side, we want them to down ballot everything. We have the opportunity to actually make quite a difference in this state with a attorney general, secretary of state, just go on down the ballot, picking up some congressional seats and that. So that is exciting news. And, I see, you know, Oregon does, I think people are waking up after you see what has gone on in Portland and the lawlessness and the businesses that are leaving, which I have something on that as well. This is why you saw in the primary, the DA got fired. The Portland district attorney gets
Hmm.
fired from his job, and it's because of those things.
Yeah.
And so it's changing, and we have to help people, educate people in the change, for
Mhm.
sure. It's
Oh, yeah.
and Portland. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just posted another article about it's entitled "Everybody Hates Portland." And this is Oregon Public Broadcasting of all things. You can't get any more left wing than that. And they're basically saying this is just the numbers. Portland, only 8%. Get this right now. I don't want to tell any lies here. A rock bottom 8% of voters say Portland's headed in the right direction, down from 38% before the pandemic. And these are percentages that regularly were in the 50s and 60s, at the early part of the
Mhm.
century. So this is all a result of the policies of the left. The more they go to the left, the worse things get. And anybody who's lived in or near Portland, who drives around Portland, you can't help but see the tents, the lawlessness, needles in the parks. Your kids can't play in the park. They literally have to adult the park, walk the fields first before they have the soccer game to pick up all the needles. It's unbelievable how
That's
rotten
disgusting.
it's absolutely disgusting. And that's the direct result of the policies of the left. And the great thing about it is, I hate to say it, and we've said this before, people from cities like Portland, they tend to vote left. They won't hear logic. They have to get the result of what they're voting for, hit them in the head like a brick before they'll finally see the light of the day. And that's what's happened to them. So I'm surprised it's taken this long. That's a lot of punishment to take. I mean, look at what the rioters did to Portland over the last 4 or 5 years. And the reason I say Portland is because, let's face it, the majority of the population is in the Willamette Valley. The rest of the state, we know it's conservative, but the rest of the state gets punished because of what goes on in Multnomah, basically two counties, Multnomah and
Yes.
Clackamas County, and they're finally seeing the light. So that'd be a huge win to see Oregon go red. It's possible.
Hey, my gosh, Oregon might be in play.
It's
I hope.
Oregon.
Pray. Keep praying.
Well, I tell you, one debate with Kamala, and that might be enough.
All right. All right. I'll tell you what, you got that right. So, Portland, speaking of Portland, I just posted a story about Portland area loses the most jobs of top 50 metro areas. Job cuts at Intel, Nike, Block, and other employers are piling up. And this is a story written yesterday. And non-farm employment in the Portland metro area fell almost 1% in the 12-month period ending in May, the largest job loss in the top 50 cities in the United States, according to the U.S. labor statistics. And so here you have Las Vegas, Oklahoma City, San Antonio are the fastest growing. And here we have in Oregon, is just dropping. You know, it has 5% fewer workers than it did a year ago. And that relates to jobs. You know, I mean, there nobody wants to work, and I think this it's partly this other story I want to post is there is a ballot measure that is going to be on the ballot in November. I've talked about it before, and it's IP 17, which is the corporate tax. They want to boost this corporate tax to 3%, and um, and then they would give every citizen in Oregon, I won't say citizen, every resident in Oregon that lives here for 120 days, 4 months, $750 a year. Okay.
I
Well,
wonder what kind of
Kotek,
immigration that will encourage.
oh, right, right. Let's see that we legalized drugs, and what did that get us? And now, if this passes, what will that get us? Oh yeah, let's move to Oregon. We're going to get paid to live there for $750 a year per person. But Kotek, interestingly, opposes this excuse me tax measure,
Mhm.
and so it got certified
Mhm.
on July 24th, and this would she says that I'm opposed, Tina Kotek, governor, our
Mhm.
governor, I'm opposed to this ballot measure. It may look good on paper, but its flawed approach would punch a huge hole in the state budget and put essential services for low wage and working families at risk.
Well,
And
that is certainly a reason to be against it, but there's probably bigger and more important reasons than that. I mean, can you think of a faster way? Look at what that would do. Number one, you would encourage more people to come to the state that the state's going to wind up taking care of, whether that be through unemployment, welfare, or whether that be through the prison system, because that's precisely where these people are going to wind up. That's the very first thing that it's going to do. Number two is going to drive corporations who are already here and already thinking about leaving because of all the horrible policies. They're going to leave and take whatever jobs they have with them to like Idaho or other states that have sane policies. And number three, people who do well, bust their butts, are going to look at this and say, "I got to leave," and we're going to see an outflow of people, which we've already been seeing. It's just been increasing in the percentage of the outflow of people, leaving behind more and more people who need to be taken care of, with less and less people in a position to do the taking care of, and it's a permanent swirl that'll just keep going downhill, and it'll be unrecoverable. So. Um, I, I'm shocked that
yeah,
Coach finally sees the light on something, but
yes.
yeah.
And she last year she had recognized high taxes as an impediment to the region and the state's economic recovery and
Mhm.
encouraged local leaders not to seek any new taxes for the next 3 years.
Mhm.
So I'll tell you, I hope that that doesn't pass. I hope she gets much more vocal about that and that does not pass,
Well,
because
you
I
said
really believe it would be very, very detrimental to us.
it would be suicidal.
And
I mean, look at what's happened in these cities already. Like, we've been talking about large retail chains bailing out of certain neighborhoods. We're
yes,
talking about food deserts, and these are the big companies that we all know, we all have heard of: the WalMarts, the Targets, REI, companies like that. Think about, for every one of those, how many hundreds of small businesses have either closed or moved out of state, or at least moved out of the counties that are massively doing this stuff.
absolutely. So I would like to, so a race that has really gained national attention is Monique Despain's race for the 4th Congressional District. So I just posted a link there, and she
Mhm.
has released an ad that I would like to play for you all. So
All right.
I am going to do a screen share and play this new ad for you all on here if I can. Here we go. Here we go. Well, that showed a May ballot return there, and interesting. That commercial. She is a there's this is for November, and but what else has happened nationally is that Monique has been added to the National Republican Congressional Committee's Young Gun list. And this just happened the other day and on the 29th. So just, well, 2 days ago. And so the Despain is running, and the Young Gun Program mentors and supports candidates across the country, providing them with the tools to run campaigns against Democrat opponents. And that is fabulous that she is getting national support. And, because this is a seat that is winnable. It's
Sure.
absolutely winnable. So if you know anybody in Congressional District 4 that you can help spread the message to vote for Monique Despain, if you can donate to her campaign, because commercials are expensive and she's going to be hit hard. The Democrats are going to come out, of course, and also Lori Chavez DeRemer.
Mhm.
We need to help hold the seats that we have in Congress. And if we can gain this other fourth one would be fabulous. If we can gain more than that, that would be great. And Marjorie just watched that commercial on television, she said. So
That's awesome.
this is really, really, really good. And another story I have is, well, it's the same story. It's by a different group though, that has Monique as being in the Young Guns. So this is really good because it takes, frankly, national Republican money to win.
Mhm.
It's sad, but it takes money for politics, right? It takes money to win, and we need to help her win. So the NRCC, which is the National Republican Congressional Committee, today announced that in its initial list of 26 candidates that actually extremist House Democrat Val Hoyle has fueled the border crime and cost of living crisis are wreaking havoc on Oregonians, and Monique Despain is in a prime position to flip Oregon's 4th district red and help grow our House majority in November. So this is fabulous.
I'll
This
tell you the other
really
thing
is
that's yeah,
fabulous.
it's pretty cool about it. She's part of a larger national trend we see too, where historically, at least since the 40s, the Democrat Party has been the party of the young, and that's changing. I think nationally, it's up to almost 50% of the vote is expected to go Republican this fall. That is historic. So the Republican Party is no longer seen as the party of the what you might call the country club elite, but the party
No.
of the working class and the young. And the Democrat Party has obviously been for at least 20 years, but now people are starting to see it, understand it, and get it. That's the party of the elite and the party of the old. And it's kind of cool to see this.
Yes, it is very cool to see it, and elections have consequences, and we have to help these people get elected. We must. It truly is. It's yes, we need President Trump, but it's more than that. We frankly have to win the House and the Senate. We need to be in control, because then he can the conservatives do, because then he can implement everything and put into place everything that he wants to get accomplished for America, not just by an executive order, which can be overturned by another president, but put it into law. And, I mean, he did so much with his hands tied in his previous term. And if he, and, um, he could do a lot more. Absolutely.
Plus, I think his first time around, he had no idea. He knew about the deep state. I don't think he knew, or any of us knew, just how deep the deep state was. Well, we
No.
know now, and so his going back into that position, should he win, and let us hope and pray that he does, um, we're much better positioned to be more effective in dealing with it. So, so I think that we're in a very positive place, but we're going to have to win up and down the ballot to do it, and not just nationally or even locally, but think about, or really locally, think about city councilors and at that level as well, mayors races, those kinds of things. It's got to be across the board. And in fact, I don't know if you all heard, this is yet another article I saw. The mayor of Dallas flipped from Democrat to Republican. Did you catch that?
What's that? I'm
So
sorry.
the mayor of Dallas switched parties. So he went from
No.
to Republican. I should have found that article and posted it as well. So that's like, and Dallas is like the what? I think it's like the 13th or 14th largest metropolitan area in the United States to have that
Oh,
happen.
no.
And there's 2 or 3 cities where that's happened. So it's happening. And just like everybody else we talked to, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. How many times have you heard that, right?
Well, exactly. In fact, that leads right into this last post I probably that I'm going to do, and that is why can't Democrats just run on the policies they believe in?
Ah,
Right? I
can't
mean,
do
this
that.
is why Democrats are leaving because their policies suck. This is
Their policies will adversely impact you personally. They never adversely impact the people that promote that stuff. I mean, you
yes.
never see them asking to remove police protection from their own neighborhoods, for
No.
example.
No.
But they'll be happy to remove them from your neighborhood. They're never happy to. They want to take your guns from you, but you never see these elites taking away guards and walls from their own neighborhoods. Walls don't work, they say. Then why do all these wealthy people live behind walls? You're not going to
Yeah.
walk up and ring the doorbell to Hillary Clinton's house. Trust me, not going to happen.
If their policies are so good, they should be able to run on them. Run on open borders because that's what you're doing. Okay. Run on higher taxes because that's what you're doing. Run on universal health care because that's what you want. If
Yeah,
it's so good, run on it. Instead of right now, they're doing the attack of, JD Vance is weird,
yeah.
and I'll tell you on Facebook today, I got a funny story about Facebook. On Facebook today, I posted from somebody else had posted a picture of Buttigieg with
Mhm.
a looked like a breastfeeding bra on with an infant. Okay. And I said, and they said, and they're calling JD Vance weird. I mean,
And Sonny, and here's the thing. I
if you want to be
genuinely
gay
think,
and you're a man and you have a baby, just stick a bottle in its mouth. I don't care.
but if you're running the circles they run in, they actually believe that. So because they're only around people just like them. I can't remember her name, but she was I think she ran the Washington Post back in the 80s. And when Reagan won in a landslide, she said, that can't be true. I didn't know anybody who voted for him. That goes to tell you the kind of bubble they've been living in. So if all you're hanging around is people with degrees and people who come from Ivy League schools, and that's all you talk to, and everybody you see doesn't have children, or they don't get married, or they're into whatever weird sexual, type relationship that you're in. What you saw in Paris, in their world, that is normal. What is weird is for somebody to have more than a couple of kids, stay married, stay monogamous, go to church. Those things are really weird in their world. So to them, yes, they're weird. And in my mind, they should go ahead and run on that. So they can tell the American people who aren't like them that they're weird. Keep doing that.
Right, right. So today on Facebook, I had this morning, I posted, I was sharing, so a repost, okay, of our Umatilla County Sheriff a press release about the fire. So it was an update on all the fires around the area, and I posted it, and Facebook removed it. They removed it, and I said, so I went, well, why?
Mhm.
And they said, because you posted this just to get likes. So I asked them to review it.
Mhm.
And then I made a post on Facebook going, hello, Facebook is removing a post. This was a public service announcement, for crying out loud. You
Yeah.
know, I couldn't believe it. This is why I'm getting much more off of that platform and onto X.
Mhm.
And
Well, this points to the importance of what happened with the acquisition of, I'm continuing mixing it, Twitter, which is now X, right?
yes,
That was so huge because they owned all of those data places. And now people have an opportunity to go someplace and just get things as they are, which is awesome. Because I'll tell you, it's amazing how on a dime, it's not like they did all get the same memo on the same day, the big
yes.
networks to say the same things. So all of a sudden, it's an evil thing to say that Kamala is a DEI hire. All of a sudden, on the same day, she was not the drug czar. It's incredible how, at least you'd think these people would be clever enough to like spread out the change. They do it all the same. They
They
have
sound like
literally,
parrots.
yes, they have a Zoom call. And I remember back in like 2005 or six, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh when he was still on the radio, and I can't remember. I think it was Al Gore was running, and all of a sudden they decided that you started hearing this on every single network that Bush didn't have gravitas. I'm not sure if you all remember that. So gravitas became the word, and this is a word that no one had already even heard of. They dusted it off in the dictionary, and
It's
suddenly
associated with antiques.
yeah, I mean, at least come up with different words. It's like they literally got the same verbiage, and every network started saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And now we see it all the time with the national press. I mean, anybody with half a brain would pick up on this. And I truly do think about 30% of the population just doesn't have, that's not nice, chooses not to think. How about that?
Yeah.
They made a decision to react on emotion.
So
So
speaking
it
of
worked.
public service announcements, I have one.
Mhm.
That most county fairs in Oregon are going to be gathering signatures for opposing statements in the voter pamphlet, like ranked choice voting that will be on the ballot. And so please, go to your county fairs, visit your Republican booth, and sign those petitions. I am happy to say that Umatilla County, we're not going to be doing the sign the petition deal. We've got the money, and we are filing a statement in the voter pamphlet, and we're looking to file one probably, I won't say guaranteed, but probably on that 3% corporate tax.
Mhm.
And we're trying to figure out the wording on a sign even for that one, because it's, the thing is about a Oregon rebate. Oh, the Oregon rebate.
Mhm.
Well, that sounds like real good. Let's pass the Oregon rebate, but it's a 3% tax. And, don't let anybody hide it there. And so do all that you can to support your county parties, because they need money to file these things. It's $1,200. You can get some signatures in a short amount of time if you have the volunteers to do that,
Mhm.
which is why the state party is actually asking counties to help them gather signatures at the fairs, and to be able to not have to spend any money that they don't have, and to get it into the voter pamphlet. $1,200. That's a lot of money for a voter pamphlet statement. That's a
Mhm.
lot of money. But
That is.
thankfully,
Mhm.
we have the money to spend, and we've chosen where to put it, because trying to make a difference statewide, not just in our county, but statewide. And we're getting some other counties that are going to sign on with us as well. And so it's more of a joint effort. And I'm really happy about doing that with them.
All right, very cool. That's very cool. My
Yeah.
goodness, Sonny, we used up 60 minutes again. How does that
Time
happen?
flies, man. Time flies when you're having fun and talking about a lot of very important things, Don.
Absolutely. We have such outstanding audience. Thank you, audience, for joining us once again. Let me give a couple of closing thoughts, and I'll toss it over to Sonny to do the same. As you go away from here, don't feel overwhelmed. I think act small, act local. In every act you take or everything you buy, just top of mind. Does this store support what I support? No, I'm not going to buy Budweiser. No, I'm not going to go to Target. No, I'm not going to watch the NFL or whatever it is. That doesn't cost much, but if millions of us are thinking that way, it adds up. you see a booth for supporting candidates, go up there, or legislation, go up there, sign the legislation, stop, take 5 minutes, walk over, have a conversation. Do those things. You don't have to do gigantic things. If you have time and you can do those things, attend a city council meeting, right? But you can do lots of little stuff that'll move the ball for us. Come up with a quick and dirty script that you're going to use when you come across a neighbor who wants to debate with you, have a discussion with you. Just have 2 or 3 things on why you're voting the way you vote and why you believe in what you believe in. And you won't believe how much you'll move the needle just by being factual. Because a lot of people, all they hear is emotion. I hate this, I hate that. And they go into the whole name calling scheme. All you got to do is name 2 or 3 things. Hey, I believe we got to have a border that's safe. I believe we got to reduce crime. I believe we got to reduce inflation. These are the reasons why I voted the way I vote. And if you do that, you'd be amazed. Sonny?
Absolutely. We have to be prepared with just a few. You don't have to have a whole library, but if you can, wonderful. But with just a few, and not be afraid to have the conversation, because we cannot be the silent majority and expect different, a change. And, you can't wait for somebody else to do it either. It takes us. There's nobody coming to our rescue. It's us.
Yep, we're it. There ain't no place to run if the United States falls, and we're either going to fight with words or we're going to fight with arms. So we might as well get ready to fight with words.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, everybody. It was great to hear you all, see you all once again. And until next week, adios.